Hello and welcome to this late edition of Beware of Spoilers. I am Adam. We are here to talk about subscription models in video games. Specifically, the fact that we now have all these various models that are permeating the video game industry in terms of the the various online services, basically. So we all know there are three major video game companies, or three major video game hardware manufacturers, outside of PC, which is a little bit more scattered based on the fact that PC has more stuff. But also, PC is predominantly done on Windows, and there is also a Game Pass for PC. So let's start with the the primary deal, which I think had the newest expansion, and I think we'll start with the one that I think is the best deal because this is the one that I've started the most and I've used, the most out of all of them. I think the best deal goes to Nintendo because Nintendo has been updating recently. Now, with these various things, there's always free stuff that comes with it. Now, Switch Online plus the expansion, which is the full Switch Online experience. Switch Online base is like $20. Switch Online expansion, I think, is it's either I think it's 50. I think it's 49.99. Now, the difference is Switch Online expansion gives you Virtual Console. Now, Switch Online, you get NES, SNES, and Game Boy games, which, based on the catalog they have already, is a pretty solid deal. Because I've used quite a bit of this. I've played Tech Mobile on there. I've played, what was the other one that I played a lot of? Um, uh, the hockey game. I played a lot of. I played Super Mario, Super Mario 3. I played, a lot of these older games that were, frankly before my time because I wasn't born yet. And I did that. SNES, same thing. Get a lot of older games, and it does all kind of work very well together. And the Game Boy is just launched, so the library is a little bit weaker. Not weaker, but like lesser. Well, lesser isn't even the wrong word too. And looking at, you know, and looking at, what games are on there. It's not a weak selection, but it's like you look at it, you're like, there's a lot of questionable choices as to what's not yet on here. But I'm assuming it'll expand as the year goes on because it just launched within the last month. Um, but for $20, which is you're getting $20 and you're doing the usual like, here is what you can get for $20. Like here is your online services and all of that. Um, on top of that, you're also getting so all of that. Now that said, Nintendo's online services aren't the strongest, so only charging $20 for it is like likable, like reasonable. Um, but it's just kind of like we. What's the over here? Um, so saying that only paying $20 for the base is kind of fair, I would say, for what you're getting in terms of online services actually working as intended. Compared to say Xbox Live, which has a lot more stable, and PlayStation Plus, which also has a lot more stable online usage. Now the expansion, which brings it up to $50, which is still $10 less than how much you're paying for everything else. Um, that is the fun part. Like that's where you get to some of the cooler stuff, and I think that you do get some good value out of it this way. Now, getting the expansion doesn't give you any priority treatment. It doesn't get you any special access or any special, anything. It's just you are, you're getting the base, plus you're also getting the booster pass for Mario Kart, plus the DLC for Animal Crossing, and access to N64, Sega Genesis, and Game Boy Advance games. And this is where the most value comes in. Because for that extra $30 for the year, you're getting access to a pretty solid library of games across those three consoles. Now, I had a Sega Genesis as a kid, and a lot of the Sega Genesis games that I did play were more licensed, like Tiny Toons, Sonic 2. Well, that's not licensed, that was an original, but I mean, Sonic 2 I played a lot, Aladdin, like that kind of stuff. You don't necessarily get. And what was I saying? I think that's where you get the most fun because this is where I've had the most fun with it. It's not specifically the Sega Genesis titles because again, Sega Genesis I'm not a huge fan of. Now at the same time, while I don't necessarily care for that stuff, sorry, I'm dealing with something over text at the same time. Um, the N64 games are a lot of fun. You do have a wide variety of classic games that are playable on here. You can do like Pokemon Snap. I've been playing a lot of Paper Mario, Super Mario 64. If you don't already have the 3D collection, what was the other one that was really cool? GoldenEye's on there, which is cool for people who like GoldenEye with online multiplayer. If you're really into that, which I'm not. The one complaint I have is that I noticed the y-axis inverted, and I'm not 100% certain how to fix it yet. But I've been trying to figure that out, and I haven't yet. But whatever. It is pretty fun, and there is a lot there. And the Game Boy Color game, the Game Boy Advance games, where I really have had a ton of fun. I've been playing a lot of Super Mario 3, Super Mario Advance 3, which is a great game. Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga and WarioWare Micro Mini Games, all are really fun. And I'm looking forward to what's coming new to that. So getting all of that for 50 is not terrible for a subscription rate. That said, they're all older games. So this is really more for someone who hasn't gotten as much of, you know, the older experience and want to go back and try it out. Um, Meanwhile, something like Game Pass or PlayStation Plus Gold or PlayStation Plus Plus or whatever the fuck it's called, um, those are more designed. They're more expensive because it's the regular 60 plus the extra subscription rate for that. But it's one of those situations where you have to be like, okay, so what is more important to me with this? And I think that the issue is PlayStation Plus Premium or PlayStation Plus Platinum, or whatever it's called, doesn't do enough to set itself out as like worth it specifically. But that said, it's like it's fairly new, and they're gonna add more stuff to it in the future. And I think that because they started so late to the game, they are playing. It is kind of designed where Xbox did kind of lock them out of a lot of games due to exclusivity contracts. Like if a game is on Game Pass, it can't be on any other similar thing. But for PlayStation fans, there are some games on there. I just don't think the catalog is particularly deep enough to warrant that being a thing. And I think that the subscription numbers kind of back that up. Game Pass was kind of the first of these things, and I think Game Pass has done a pretty good job of setting itself apart. It's the kind of thing where it first started. It was kind of like when Movie Pass was kind of like became a thing for $10, and then it's like, wait, is this real? Like, no bullshit on this? Because like that's kind of where I felt on this, where I was like, so wait, so I can pay $15 a month and get access to all these games. I can play as much as I want. Like, are you fucking with me, or is this some kind of a scam, or like no, that's just the deal, and it is such a great deal that it's like it feels too good. And the caliber of game you get with Xbox Game Pass, and by extension PC Game Pass to a lesser, well, I mean to a lesser extent, but PC Game Pass has a lot of great games too. Um, I just think that Xbox Game Pass is still the best deal. The only reason the better deal of the three, I would just say it's not the best deal, and it's not as good as Nintendo, only because Nintendo is still $10 lower than kind of the standard 60, which is where we've been since the PS3, Xbox 360 era. Um, we're kind of there, and then it's like, well, we got to pay extra on top of that 60, while the Nintendo is $10 less than the 60. Um, and its price, that's purely the thing. Also, it's like I'm not entirely sure because the thing is too, it's taking consideration new games. While Switch Online is probably not going to get any new games, I don't know how the landscape is going to be shaken up once we get to this new world order with a lot of new games coming out post possible Activision buyout with Microsoft, and now that Sony also has exclusivity. It's just Sony doesn't have the exclusives day one that Microsoft does, which is kind of why it's not as good. But I think we'll wrap up there for today on a very disjointed episode because I'm getting tons of texts about nonsense. But until our next episode, which will be tomorrow morning for The Last of Us, have a great rest of your week.